Hi, welcome to Woodfork Guitars. Thanks for stopping by. This video, I'm going to continue with the builds that I started in the last video titled How I Start. This is going to be how I continue. So if you want to know how I get to this point, go check out the last video. I'll leave a link in the description below. So I ripped the fretboards down a little bit wider than my neck blank. And out of these three fretboards, two of these are going to be using nuts and one's going to have a 0 fret. You can see the 0 frets right here, the nuts nothing. I'm using the CBGitty Gen 2 fret templates. Now I really like these and I've really been thinking about buying some more of them. Now I know some builders use the Mighty Mite table saw with a sled and a template to cut their fret slots. I really don't build enough guitars to warrant such a purchase. So I actually am using a handsaw, a miter box, and cutting my fret slots by hand. If I were to increase my output, then I would probably go the same way and get a table saw, a little sled, and the tiny blade, and go the same route. I'm not putting out enough. I am not putting out enough guitars, and so fortunately, or unfortunately, or however, I am doing these by hand. Now, I've been using this guy for quite some time, and unfortunately, the Florida weather and humidity has gotten to it. By no fault of the manufacturer, this thing is no good anymore. It's actually my fault for leaving it out here in this Florida weather, this semi-open shop, and this outrageous humidity we have down here in Central Florida. This thing warped. It stayed out in the shop for probably 2 years now. And it's warped, both these pieces. So you've seen me use this in other videos, and you probably see that back flopping around, and then eventually I glued it, and it was great. This is a CBGitty Deluxe miter box kit. And I purchased this soon after this fretboard was made, and the cut came out bad because the walls on this were bowed. Again, not CBGitty's fault, my fault. And because I like CBGitty and I like the products they have, I purchased this, the CBGitty Deluxe fretting miter box kit. All right, so we're going to put this thing together and we're going to try it out. Assembling this miter box is pretty straightforward. The instructions are done well with pictures. I like the screw hole indicators, countersink spots, whatever you want to call them. If you're using a hand screwdriver like I am here, use some wax on the threads of the screws. You're welcome. I ended up using the impact driver to finish up. There are a lot of screws, so it will take some time. When you're putting the sides back into the base, be prepared to use some persuasion. The side walls have to seat firmly in the base or it's no good. Now I whacked them pretty good with a dead blow mallet. Same with the small top pieces. They may need some persuasion also. Just make sure everything is lined up before you start playing whack-a-mole with it. Alright, now to try it out. The inside of the miter box is a little wider than my fretboard blank, and it is wider than 1.5 inches. So I used the first thing within reach. It just happened to be a glue brush with a wedged end. I soon switched up to a much classier Western red cedar wedge. On all the fretboards there is one side that has a white chalk along it. This is the side that I know is straight. I use this as my reference side for everything after. The templates line up with the chalk side goes up against the miter box wall, and even when gluing the fretboard to the neck, this is the reference side. This miter box is much sturdier, feels solid, and if I take care of it, it should last for years. Now, I like it. I'm happy with the purchase. And I checked, it's square. So before I glue the fretboards to the necks and glue the heels on, I double check my layout one more time. I even use little chunks of wood for pickups and bridges. Next up is shaping the neck. Everybody has a favorite way to do it, and I'm still trying to find my favorite way of shaping the neck. I did this in a past video but didn't explain much since it was new to me. You can see my marks here on the back and on the sides. Instead of keeping these same marks and lines all the way down the neck, I am taking my lines back to the heel corners. And I'm already wanting to adjust where I mark at the heel corners. So I mark a center line, then halfway between the center line and the edge of the wood. On the sides, you mark halfway from your fretboard to the edge of the neck. And this essentially creates a 45-degree angle. Now you rasp that facet. The second time around, you make a mark a third of the way down the first facet you cut, and on the side, halfway between the fretboard and the facet. The last one, halfway down the first facet you cut, and halfway from the center of that facet to the center line of your neck. That's your last one. So after those, I will come back with a rasp, knock the corners down, and then shape to taste. Well, I've got a little fine work left up around the top here and right here, and then lots of sanding. And nobody wants to do sanding. Nobody wants to watch sanding. So this is where I'm going to call the end of the video. Thanks for hanging out. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps out the channel, and I do appreciate it. So it's 97 outside with a feels like of 106, or 96 with a feels like of 107. Either way, it's hot, very hot. I'm going to go inside for a little bit, do some editing, and then I'm going to come back and sand, and sand. So the next time we meet, we'll have 2 finished necks, some box holes cut. It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome. Thanks. Have fun.